Thank you guys so much for joining us. My name is Kara Moncrief and I'm the clinical director. So I will be doing first a presentation, a shortish one, just walking you guys through the VFR technology. So we'll start with that, just so you know what it does and how it works and the science behind it before we do the virtual demonstration. Now, my mom was supposed to be my model, but her crown broke, so she had to go to an emergency dentist appointment. So unfortunately, I don't have a model, so I'm going to be doing it on myself, which I mean works just as easily. So I can show you guys, the handpiece and the technique, so on and so forth. So I'll be doing that the second half of the webinar. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to ask them, especially when I'm doing the hands-on part. You guys can unmute yourselves and ask me, and then we can have a conversation about it so other people can hear the answer and the question. A lot of times the questions you guys have are the questions that others have. So if I miss something or you just need more clarification on something, please ask. If you don't want to unmute yourselves, that's fine. You can just write into the chat. It will be hard for me to answer that while I'm doing the hands-on, but throughout the presentation, you can type in your questions and that will be easy for me to answer. Also, I have another Viora representative on here with me, so she could always help me with the questions while I'm doing hands-on if for some reason I cannot read them as I'm doing it. But you're more than welcome to unmute yourselves too. All right, so we will get started. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second just to pull it up. All right. Okay, so if for some reason you guys cannot see this, please let me know. You should see a presentation on here. For everyone on the little pin videos, do you want to continue? I'm going to try something really quick. Cancel. So it's so funny. I've been doing Zoom since the pandemic started, and they keep removing, or not removing, they keep changing little things where before I could pin the video and spotlight the video. So I never had to question, could you guys see me? So now you can either do one or the other. So hopefully you guys can see just the PowerPoint and myself. You will need to be able to see me because I'll be kind of showing you guys things as we go. If for some reason you're not seeing those two, just write into the chat and let me know before I go too far. All right, so here we go. We'll start with our first slide. Now, the first slide is for those of you that are not a Viora customer. So for those of you that are already a Viora customer and part of the Viora family and just looking to add on the VFR to your platform, welcome. And we're so excited for you guys because you are going to be blown away by this technology. And then for those of you that are not part of the Viora family yet, I wanted to add this slide so you guys could see how does the handpiece interact with the systems that we have. So these are our systems. The one on the left is our microdermabrasion. I'm going to kind of skip over the one right next to that, and I'm going to go to the three there on the right. So these are our platform systems. And the reason why I just skipped over that other one is the VFR is not compatible for that one. That's our older generation radio frequency device. Our newer generation are the three systems that you're seeing there on the right. And we call them platform systems because handpieces just plug in and it's interchangeable. So when we have a new technology that's released onto the market, like the VFR that we're covering today, you can just plug it into the system that you already own. So it's not a huge expense for you by any means. And it's not like you have to buy a whole new system. It's going to be $50,000 just to get this one technology. It's just a simple handpiece purchase. So we have the V10, the V20, and then the bigger one is the V30. So the V10 is all radio frequency capabilities. The VFR does utilize radio frequency. The second one is the V20, and that's all radio frequency capabilities plus IPL, intense pulse light. And then the last one is the V30, which is all radio frequency capability, IPL plus laser. So that's our big guy that can house any of our technologies. And then these are, the little circles that you're seeing around everything that we can treat by owning a platform system. So today, though, what we are going to focus on is the VFR. So the VFR and everything that it can treat. We can do facial rejuvenation and resurfacing, skin tightening, acne scar correction, pigmented lesions, epidermal texture and tone improvement, scar reduction, skin lifting, and labia tightening. So it does a lot. And really, there is nothing like this out there that I have seen for scarring in general, for acne scars, for stretch marks, which are considered scars, for surgical scars, any type of scar tissue. The VFR is just so unbelievable for, to where you say, oh my gosh, they had scars that you can't even tell. And I think the reason why I'm so passionate about it is that I suffered from acne really bad growing up. I was on Accutane twice in my life, and I had really bad scarring. And the VFR completely changed my life and my skin and my face. So I have a huge love for it. And then also, if you have those patients that come into your office and say, I don't want to have surgery, but there's probably not much you can do for me at this point because I'm in my 60s or I'm in my 70s and I've never done really anything to my skin, and I have sun damage and I have wrinkles and I have sagging tissue. They have it all. This handpiece is the go-to because it can truly remove 10 years off of a face, because it can do all of this in that one technology, in that one treatment session. So there's really nothing like this out there that's, just so phenomenal for those certain circumstances. Labia tightening. So I just want to let you guys know that I do have some before and afters of our labia tightening at the end of the PowerPoint. Just want to give you a heads up now, just in case I forget to give you a warning, they will be in there. But I have a slide to pre-warn you guys. So you're not like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is what is fractional technology, because this handpiece, and I'll show you a photo of it, or a photo, not a photo, I have it right here in front of me. I'll show you it in real life. So this is the VFR handpiece. I already put the tip on just so I'm ready to go for you guys when we get into hands-on. But this is the handpiece, the size of it, very lightweight. And it's fractional or fractionated radio frequency. So I first wanted to explain what that is. So fractional technology was developed by Dr. Rox Anderson in 2003. And he invented this more so for lasers, for CO2, for erbium YAG. And the reason for that was in the 1990s, when they would do a CO2 or erbium YAG laser, it would remove all of the skin and it would remove all of the epidermis. So you would look a bit like Freddy Krueger for weeks. And it wasn't social downtime, it was true downtime when you're not leaving your house, you're in your bed, and you're just slathering on Vaseline back then and just waiting for your skin to heal. So he developed fractional, where it's only treating fractions of the skin at a time. So we no longer have, with our VFR, true downtime, it's just social downtime. So even if you have little marks on your face, it's something that can be covered up with makeup. It's not something that they have to stay at home and they can't go to work or they can't pick their kids up from school. So the good thing about fractional technology and only treating fractions of the skin is that you're healing very quickly. So your downtime is only 5 to 7 days on the face, and that again is social downtime. Additionally, it's going to be safe for darker skin types. And we are using radio frequency. Radio frequency is colorblind. So it doesn't matter if they're skin type 1 or 6, radio frequency is colorblind, so that's not a concern. But when we get into fractional RF, it's a bit of a concern where we're not cranking it up on a skin type 5 and 6, but because it's fractionated, we are much safer because it's radio frequency and it's colorblind. We are much safer than using a laser on them. So the safety is a huge thing. The healing time is very big. So when you're only treating fractions of the skin, I like to use this analogy. It's kind of like, it's probably not the best analogy, but it's the one that I thought of and it just stuck with me. So it's kind of like if I went into war and I went on the battlefield and I'm alone and I run out there towards my enemy, and let's say I get shot and I'm laying out there by myself. Am I going to heal? Probably not. I'm going to probably end up staying on that battlefield forever. But if I run into war with my war people and I get shot, then Susie next to me scoops me up, runs me to the medical tent, and now I get aid and I survive and I heal. So that's kind of like what we're doing to the skin. When we're removing all of the tissue, then there's no cells that are around that can really help. I mean, there are cells underneath, but there's no cells surrounding your epidermis to migrate to the injured areas to help heal. When we are only treating fractions of the skin, there's surrounding cells that run over to the injured areas and say, hey, let me heal you and let me heal you faster. So that's why we have a very quick healing time. I know, probably not the best analogy, but okay, so I forgot to hit a couple things there, but we'll move on. All right, so what we are using is radio frequency. So radio frequency, it's a form of electromagnetic energy. And when this electromagnetic energy comes into contact with our tissue, our body doesn't recognize it, so it naturally wants to reject it. And that rejection process builds heat in our skin. And with heat, we can get different biological responses. It just depends on what kind of heat are we using. Are we using really high heat? Are we using lower heat? And we can get different biological responses. And what we want to target in the skin is going to be collagen. So in specific, it's types 1 and 3 collagen. We have many different types of collagen within our body. Our whole body is made up of collagen, but our skin, our cosmetic collagen, is types 1 and 3. So that's what we're targeting with the hand piece. Now, our different biological responses that we can get. When we are reaching over 100 degrees Celsius, we are getting skin resurfacing, and that's 212 Fahrenheit. I think I have the math on that right. But that's skin resurfacing where we're getting epidermal regeneration, so new skin. When we lower the heat a bit to 60 to 70 degrees Celsius, this is when we're getting coagulation or necrosis. And when we get necrosis or coagulation of our tissue, it could be our collagen, our old collagen, it could be just our overall cells, then we get skin rejuvenation. So new epidermal and dermal cell production. And then when we lower the heat a little bit more, 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, this is when we're getting fibroblast stimulation. Fibroblast cells are responsible for producing collagen. So just with lower heat, we can get the fibroblast cells to become active and start to secrete collagen fibers. And that's when we're getting our skin tightening effect, neocollagenesis, the breakdown of old collagen and replacing it with new. So different, and all three of these biological responses we can get with the VFR. So horrible photo, that second one. So skin resurfacing, removal of the skin surface to create a new surface. So that's when we're doing ablation. And this is by removal of epidermal and dermal cells. We can get this with peels as well. So if you guys are familiar with peels, we're just removing we're not removing a lot. With peels, unless it's a very deep peel, but with your just kind of like med spa peels, we're really just removing the stratum corneum, one of those dead skin cell layers, or a few, hopefully, if it's a good peel. With this one, we're going a bit deeper with ablation so we can get more. Skin rejuvenation, we are getting coagulation and necrosis of the dermal and epidermal layers, which as a response promotes the body to create new cells, and that's rejuvenating. Skin tightening is just that overall volumetric heating of the dermis to stimulate the neocollagenesis by fibroblasts and collagen remodeling. Okay, so now how do we do this? How do we get ablation? What's the beautiful thing about this handpiece is that it can either have ablation, which you're going to have a little bit of downtime. Again, it's that social downtime, or we can set the parameters to where we get no downtime at all, to where they look normal the next day, which is wonderful. So it really is customizable. So we'll talk about why would somebody need ablation? Why would they need that little bit of social downtime? When would someone not need any downtime at all? And how are we getting these different biological responses? So it's going to be based on the heat that you're using, the amount of joules or heat that you're producing in the skin, and then additionally, how quickly are you putting that heat into the tissue? So it's energy, joules, plus the speed in which you're delivering it. So when we have a pulse duration is the speed in which we're delivering joules, and joules is just the heat, the energy. So our option on the system is between 10 and 100 milliseconds. That's the speed. And I can take 5 joules of energy and I can deliver it in either 100 milliseconds, very slowly, or I can choose to take 5 joules and deliver it in 10 milliseconds, very, very quickly. So what's going to happen to the skin? When you're between 10 and 50 milliseconds, you're primarily just getting ablation. So the analogy I'll use for this one is a piece of steak. So let's take a raw piece of steak and we turn the grill on to a really high flame on the grill. And we throw that raw piece of meat on the grill for, let's just say 2 minutes and 2 minutes on each side. What's going to happen to the steak? A high flame. It's going to burn on the outside. What's going to happen to the inside of the steak? Nothing. It's going to stay raw because it was only on there a short period of time. So really all we did was just charred the outside. I want you to think of that as ablation. We're using higher heat, higher flame, higher heat, and we're putting that higher heat into the tissue very quickly, 10 to 50 milliseconds, smashing it into the skin. And what happens is that ablative response. So that's going to be that overall texture improvement to the skin. Or if they have superficial hyperpigmentation, we can remove that because we're resurfacing the skin. Now on the opposite end, I'm going to take now 80 to 100 milliseconds. Slow delivery. I want you to think of still taking a raw piece of steak and lowering the flame on the grill and throwing the steak on now for 4 to 5 minutes per side. Now what's going to happen to the steak? It's probably going to cook all the way through. What's going to happen to the outside of the steak? Probably not a ton. It's probably just going to cook evenly like the rest of the steak. It's not going to char on the outside. I want you to think of that as like your deep volumetric heating, your coagulation and necrosis of skin cells, your stimulation of fibroblast cells deep for tightening, for collagen, for lifting. That pulse duration, when you're slowly putting it into the tissue and getting that biological response, that's when we don't have to have any downtime because we're not ablating and we're not needing to resurface. We're just wanting to lift fine lines and wrinkles, lifting of the skin. Then they'll be red after, but the next day they're not going to have little marks on their face because you're not doing ablation. The beauty of this handpiece is that when you meet those two in the middle, that pulse duration, so when you're at 60 or 70 milliseconds, you're getting both. You're getting a little bit of ablation and a little bit of coagulation. And what this is so phenomenal for is acne scars is one example, to where acne scars, they're superficial. We can see them, meaning they're superficial, but they're also very deep. When you look at any histological photo of scarring, it's deep. It's typically all the way into the reticular dermis. So we need that deeper coagulation. We need that stimulation of fibroblast cells for collagen in the area, but we also need to resurface the superficial texture of the skin that we're seeing. So we can do both, and that's why we're getting phenomenal improvement with acne scars or scars in general. I'll take that 60, 70-year-old female or male who has never done anything to their skin, and now they're wanting to start, and it's that person that's saying, oh, it's too late for me. It's not, though. They just don't realize that there are these type of technologies. With that patient, you're probably going to have pigment issues, right? Years of sun. You're probably going to have texture issues because our skin just loses that smooth texture, and we start to get rough texture. We're probably going to have sagging of the tissue and fine lines or deep lines and wrinkles or folds. So when we're doing ablation and coagulation, you're targeting all of those issues for them. You're able to remove the hyperpigmentation, you're able to help their texture, you're able to lift and tighten and help lines, wrinkles, folds, sagging of tissue. And that's just in one sitting with one handpiece. Of course, they're going to want to do a series, but the fact that one handpiece can target all of those things is just too phenomenal. Okay, so that's how we're able to get our different biological responses. Now we'll talk about our proprietary technology within our fractionated RF handpiece, and that is called SVC, and that stands for switching, vacuum, and cooling. So we'll talk about those things right now. We're going to go into what is switching. So switching is how we're able to control the depth of penetration. And it's just, let me back up. We're using bipolar radio frequency. So there's monopolar, there's bipolar, there's multipolar RF on the market. I actually have one of our other handpieces on the system, which is called the VST. And this is just a good way of showing you what is bipolar RF. So bipolar RF means that there's two electrodes on the handpiece. So one of the electrodes is working as the positive, the other electrode is working as the negative, because energy, RF energy, has to be able to deliver and then receive. So positive to negative delivery. And this is using bipolar RF. So it's delivering and then receiving. And this is what the tip looks like here. So if I fire the positive to negative row very close together, we're staying superficial. When I spread it apart a little bit more, I'm able to go a little bit deeper. When I spread it out even more, I'm able to go even deeper. So let's pretend like we're using the shallow program. Then row 1 would be the positive, row 2 would be the negative. So they're just firing really close together, so you're staying superficial. If I want to go medium, which is shallow, is going to be epidermis. Medium is going to be papillary dermis. That means row 1 would work as the positive, and then row 3 would be the negative. Then row 2 would be the positive, then row 4 would be the negative. So we're just spreading it out a bit to go a bit deeper into the tissue. If I want to go deep or into the reticular dermis, then row 1 would be the positive, row 4 would be the negative, row 2 would be the positive, row 5 would be the negative. So we're just spreading it out a little bit further apart. So this is how we're able to target all 3 layers of our skin. And that's important because when I'm treating somebody with acne scarring, I want to go deep. So I'll select the deep program, and it will light up showing me that I will be able to go all the way into the reticular dermis, but also ablate superficial of the epidermis. But if I just want to stay shallow, if someone just has pigment issues and I don't need to go all the way into the reticular dermis because it's just pigment, then I can choose that and stay in the epidermis for their pigment. So control is very, very important, and having that control. So this is just a little visual there, shallow, medium, deep. Okay, so, oh, and then, you know, you select shallow, that will light up. Medium, papillary will light up. Deep, reticular will light up. Okay, so now we'll go into the vacuum. So we have a vacuum, which is so important, very crucial for a couple different reasons, because there are other fractionated RF technologies out there on the market, and they're not the most comfortable things in the world. They are pretty, you know, hard to sit through, almost unbearable. And we added a vacuum to ours, so that is going to work for two different reasons. One, where the vacuum is placed, there's a photo on the screen, but I'll show you in person too. The vacuum is here, there's a little opening here, and then here, there's a little opening here. So when I activate the handpiece, the vacuum sucks in the tissue wherever it's touching, and then it's making sure that I'm nice and flush and flat on the skin. So that's going to be important because it's bipolar RF. So all of these little pins here need to fire, and making sure that we're nice and flat on the skin is going to be important. And that's what that vacuum is aiding in. There's also a safety mechanism on here that if you fire and the vacuum doesn't sense any tissue at all, it will give you a doot, and it won't let you fire. So you're going to always be safe with the handpiece. And then also the vacuum aids in comfort, big time. We did a study, same energy, same pulse duration with and without the vacuum. The pain tolerance of the patient without a vacuum was about a 7. The pain tolerance with the vacuum went down to a 3. So that's how important that vacuum is for comfort, but also making sure that your matrix marks stay symmetrical. I've been talking about dots on the face. That's what I'm referring to. So it would be tiny little, you know, pin marks, and those are gone within 5 to 7 days. On the body, it takes a little bit longer just because the body heals slower. And the reason for that is our sebaceous glands are so active on our face comparative to our body, and sebum helps speed up healing time. So it takes a little bit longer. If you guys are used to using an IPL or laser for pigment, you know that, all right, the darkened pigment will be there for about 3 weeks on the body, but gone in about 7 days on the face. Same circumstance with the fractionated RF. All right, so next we'll talk about cooling. So cooling is we have this whole, actually, let me show you. There's a plate. So the little gold pins there's a plate underneath it. It's kind of greenish brown in color. That is all cooling. That's a cooling plate. So pretty much everything that's touching the skin is cooling the area. And that's going to be for comfort as well. Additionally, it's keeping it more fractionated. So the pins are what's really going to injure the tissue, but all surrounding all of those pins is a cooling plate. So it's keeping it very fractionated, only treating fractions of the skin, but also it's aiding in comfort. Lastly is the Smart Heat. I don't know why I keep putting this handpiece away. I keep grabbing it. The Smart Heat are these 2 gold bars right here and right here. So those 2 large gold bars are electrodes, and it's also bipolar energy. One of the electrodes is working as the positive, the other electrode is working as the negative. And Smart Heat will release before all of the little pins will that you saw in the center there. The Smart Heat is just aiding in depth of penetration. So when you hit the trigger, the first thing that activates is the vacuum. The vacuum will make sure that there's tissue there. The second thing that will activate is the Smart Heat. It will release 1 joule, that's it, just 1 joule of energy into the tissue. And it's just doing a little bit of volumetric heating before all of the little pins, the tiny electrodes, fire on the skin. And it's helping with impedance. So impedance is resistance to RF energy, resistance in the skin. And when we want to go deep into the tissue, let's say we're treating for acne scarring or a lot of aging on the skin where we want to go all the way into the reticular dermis. We don't want impedance. We don't want resistance. We want it to penetrate deep, right? So that's what it's doing. A little bit of volumetric heating so the tissue warms and allows all of the pins to fire and go into the depth that we want it to go to. All right. So now we're going to go, actually, before we go into before and after photos, do I have any questions? None? That surprises me. Okay. Well, then hopefully I explained it well. All right, so now we'll go into the before and after photos. So, all right, I have a couple of these larger on the next couple slides. So the next one I have, I think, is this gentleman with the scar, so I won't talk about him yet. Here is one treatment for pigment up on the right, and you can see how much pigment was removed after the first treatment. And then here is a pretty severe acne scar patient, and her result after one treatment. Sorry, I have a question. Is this a separate attachment? I have the V30. Yes. So if you have the V30, it just plugs in. So it plugs in right where your V-form and VST plug in. The VFR will plug in there. So you don't have to buy a machine, just the handpiece. I'm excited that you're on. Everybody that is already a Viora customer must have this handpiece. Must. It is an absolute must. It's just too phenomenal not to have. Okay, so now we'll go into, there we go. I really wanted to show you this. So this is 2 VFR treatments. Now, typically we recommend a series of 4 to 8. 8 is going to be someone that has really bad acne scarring. And you know what? Sometimes they're happy at 6. You know, it's almost gone, or completely gone if they respond really well. So it's not always a requirement of 8. But you know, if it's really severe, sometimes up to 8 treatments. But you can see only after 2 how well it works for scarring, how well it works for overall lifting and aging. That took 5-10 years off of his face just with 2 treatments. Now he looks like he's in his 40s instead of 50. This is a combination treatment. This is one ST, which for those of you that are not already a Viora customer, the ST is this handpiece that I was showing you earlier. All it is bipolar radio frequency. So this is the one that's going in and just doing deep volumetric heating and lifting and tightening, and we can plump lips with it, so on and so forth. I won't go into too much detail because that's not what the webinar is on. But this is a combination of one treatment with that handpiece first, and then the VFR over it. And that's just one treatment. Again, it took 5-10 years off of her skin. Same patient, just a different view. Really great. And then this is a combination again with ST and VFR 3 and 3. So first the VST, then doing 3 VFRs on top of it. Those are deep lines. She smiled a lot, which is good. Those of you that have been in this industry for a long time, you know how hard a neck is to treat. For some reason, the neck is just the hardest thing to treat. And now you have a solution. So here's our baseline, 4 weeks after the first, after the second, so on and so forth. And then you can see here, the 3-month follow-up is just phenomenal. All right. Now, let me talk about this one first before I show you. So this was a recent post on Instagram, an office that just purchased the VFR. And then they posted on Instagram their before and after photo. And this is it. This was one treatment. So we took this, or I took this photo and added it to my PowerPoint because it's just too good. So this is one treatment before and then after. I mean, just phenomenal. She responded really, really well. I hope all of you guys are going, oh, what? Yes. So there you can see, if you sold her a series of 8, she's not going to need it. 4, and she'll probably be ecstatic at 4. Okay, so this was my slide to do a pre-warning that labia photos are coming up. So before I go into them, I see that I have one question here. Do you have to have a medical director to be able to have this handpiece? Okay, so that all varies on your state. Every law varies state to state. So what you should do is you should email us and we'll talk with you about that, find out the state that you're in, work with you on all of those questions. So our email is, and this is for everyone, so I'm just gonna write it into the chat. I can get the chat opened up again. So much harder to see the chat from a presenter's standpoint than you guys. I don't know why they made it so hard. Okay, so it's info@vioramed.com. info@vioramed.com. Yes, enter. Okay, so there is our email address for any questions. If you guys are like ready to go and you want to buy it, great. info@vioramed.com. If you have more clinical questions, pricing questions, info@vioramed.com. If you have to have a medical director, you can email us, info@vioramed.com. Do you know what settings were used on the stomach? Lindsay, I wish I did. I will. You must already have the handpiece, I'm guessing. If you do already have the handpiece, you can email us at clinicalusa@vioramed.com. If you're already a customer, you probably already know that email. Email me and I'll see if I can reach out to that account and find out the settings that they use. Okay. All right, so now some Revive photos. So Revive is going to be labia. So just a forewarning, we're going to see labias right now. All right, so here is the labia tissue responds really well, really well. It's highly vascular and it just responds quickly. Plus this handpiece is an aggressive technology, but aggressive in a great way. So this is after 3 treatments. I mean, that's all she would need. Maybe one more, but I don't think so. She was probably thrilled after 3 treatments. This is, I wanted to add in a 1 treatment so you could see how much improvement that they would see after 1, just like I did with the face, but truly phenomenal after 1 treatment. This is a combination. This is using the ST and the VFR. And a little vacuum as well, just on the, for those of you that are already a Viora customer and you see FC on there, it's like the V form, but that was not on the labia part. So on the labia part, they use the ST first, then followed it with the VFR in the same treatment setting. You don't need to do that though. The VFR can accomplish it all. It doesn't have to be a combination treatment. And then I just added the slide on again for maybe those of you that jumped on the webinar a little bit late, that we do sell for those of you that are not already Viora customers, that we sell platform systems and that all of the hand pieces are interchangeable. So, you know, you can add on, and you don't have to purchase every handpiece all at once if you're not already a Viora customer. You can buy the machine and start out with the VFR. You can buy the machine and start out with the VFR or the IPL, intense pulse light, to treat hair removal, pigment, vascular, skin rejuvenation, acne clearance. And then as you go, you can add on other handpieces that we have. So that's what's so beautiful about a platform system, is that you can just build upon it. But just wanted, I went through that more in the beginning of our breakdown platform systems. But if you have more questions, pricing questions on the platform, things like that, then just email us, info@vioramed.com. And then for those of you that are already a Viora customer, now all you need to do is just purchase the VFR, and you have a whole nother treatment capability, or I should say treatments, because it does a lot. My team and I missed the first part because we were with patients. Will we have access to the recording? Yes, for sure. You'll have access. Are you already a Viora customer, Melissa? Let me know. So you will have access. You'll have easier access if you are a Viora customer. I think you just wrote in. Let me check. Yes, have the VFR and the V20. Oh, great. You already have the handpiece. Wonderful. So yeah, you'll have access. If you already have the handpiece, I did much deeper clinical webinar that you would probably want to watch instead. So just email us at the clinical email address, or the one that I wrote on here if you don't know the clinical email address, and we'll let you know where the deeper dive into the VFR, like really training our accounts, are, because I did those, which would be better for you. All right. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I think that's it for the PowerPoint. Yes, it is. Okay, so let me stop sharing. So what I'm going to do really quick is, don't leave me, because now I'm going to show you hands-on in the technique and how it works so you can see it live. But I'm just going to get it set up really quick. So just give me 5 minutes, take a bathroom break, grab a cocktail if it's, I don't know, East Coast time, or coffee if it's West Coast time, or water or something. But just give me 5 minutes. I'm going to get set up, and then I'll pop right back on. So don't leave me, please. And I'll see you in just a second. All right, I'm back. I don't even know if that was 5 minutes. I was trying to hurry for you guys. All right, so I just turned the system on. So while it's turning on, what I'm gonna do is just alcohol my skin. So I'm gonna do it, try not to put this down too low. There we go. Go a little closer. All right, so I couldn't do my face because I just did a chemical peel a week ago, so I couldn't do that. And it peeled down onto my neck. I was going to do my neck, so can't do that. The only area to show you guys is right here on my décolleté. And I do need it because of for us women, we get the bra lines, right? So the way we sleep, things like that, we start to get the deeper set lines here. And you probably can't see it all that well, but I have them, especially when I wake up in the morning. So I'm gonna do this area here just to help that. And it's an area that I can show you guys how it works and the technique. So we'll just do that. So first, you alcohol the skin. This is really easy because all you do is alcohol the skin and go. So there's no like gel involved or anything like that. We're alcoholing just to make sure that it's really sterile in the area before we begin. Okay, so I'm alcoholed and I already put my tip on the handpiece. If you were treating anyone else, if I was treating, like if my mom was able to be here, if her crown didn't break and she was here like she was supposed to be, I would be wearing gloves right now because I'm working on someone else. But I'm working on myself, so I'm not gonna wear gloves for this one. Plus I'm really low on them. So you know how hard it is to get gloves nowadays with the pandemic. All right, so, well, I'm sure it's not hard, like if you have a supply company, but for me, I usually just run to Walgreens and they're always out. Do you typically do numbing? So by the way, if you guys have questions during hands-on, you may just want to unmute yourselves to ask me because I may not see all the questions that pop up. But sometimes I do, like right then I did. Or I can answer them after we're done. So numbing, yes. Not always though. So I didn't do numbing on myself because I'm really not going to do ablation for this area. I'm just going to do more like deeper coagulation for hopefully a little, I mean, I want a little lifting as well, but really targeting those deeper lines. Now, ablation wouldn't hurt me one bit because deeper set lines a lot of times need textural resurfacing because, you know, there's that textural issue. But I'm not going to do it today. In all honesty, I'm going to play tennis later. So I'm going to be running around and hot and sweating, and I'm not supposed to be doing that tonight after a treatment. So I'm just going to be a little bit more mild on myself today. But if I was doing ablation, I probably would be numbing myself right now. Yes. If you're doing like acne scarring or scarring in general, whenever you're getting into ablative temperatures, typically you would need numbing on the patient. Some people are really tough though, and they're like, nah, I consider it. It's not the worst thing in the world because we have the cooling and the vacuum. I also like to use good pressure with the handpiece, so that aids in comfort. If someone just comes in just for like lifting of the tissue, then they don't need numbing because you're not getting into ablative temperatures. And they usually are just fine sitting through it at a longer pulse duration, and typically you're just needing lower joules at that point. Because even our joule option is between 1 and 10. Even 3 joules is a lot with this handpiece, and usually they can sit through that. So it really just varies. If I was doing ablation though, yes, like because I had really bad acne scars because I had horrible cystic acne growing up. And my acne scars were really bad on my cheeks. So I was using numbing cream because I was getting into much higher ablative temperatures. All right, so the first thing it asks if I want to choose shallow, medium, or deep. I'm going to go deep on myself because those lines are pretty deep over the years. they have developed to be pretty deep. So I'm choosing deep. My pulse duration, I really don't want to do that ablative. How often do you treat? Every 4 weeks? Yes, between every 4 and 6 for efficacy. Not before 4 because you need the healing time, and don't want to do after 6 because then you start to mess with efficacy. So between every 4 and 6 weeks. Good question. And then maintenance treatments when you're done with your series, does it help with fat loss below eyes? Not, it is not for that. I can say that. It's not for that. Will it help with overall under eye bags? Yes. Will it help with edema bags? Yes. But I can't say that it's like for fat loss under eyes. Okay, so I'm gonna do 80 milliseconds. I shouldn't be getting into any type of ablation at that setting. And I'm gonna set myself to 3 joules. And now we'll show you guys the technique here. And this is good because then I'll be able to see what I'm doing. I've done some webinars where I'm just kind of like blindly using my camera to do it, but I can actually look down. Okay, so I'm just going to do the first pulse really quick. The light blinks when it's ready to go, so I hit the ready button, and then I'm going to hit the trigger, and you can see the light just lights up solid, and then it starts blinking again to let me know it's done and ready again. So the technique is a rolling technique. So I don't lift it off the skin, I just roll it over and then I just slide it down a bit. And that's gonna help me really get a nice tight overlap of the area. So I'm just gonna take it, slide it over just a little bit and slide it back. And that's how quickly it works. So I don't know if you guys can hear the little chirp, chirp. That chirp, if you guys can hear that, that's letting me know that, okay, it's done and ready to go again. This isn't hurting me one bit. It is, I'm probably really used to the sensation by now though. I've done it so many times. But you know, I feel it. You feel the little pins activating, but it's nothing I wouldn't be able to sit through. And this is the setting that you would typically be using for like lifting of the face. They typically don't need numbing cream. And although I can't feel it much, you'll see I will become red. So I'm just rolling it, doing a roll, and then just sliding it down, and that's it. Now, how do I know if I got an overlap of the row that I just did? So what I'm gonna do is, it's where I just did it is right here. I'm gonna put it half in the red and then roll over. And that will give me a tight overlap of the row that I just did. So I'm putting it half in the red, rolling it over, and then I'm gonna start my next row. So it's that easy. It's actually, it's my favorite handpiece to use. Like as an operator, it's my favorite. There's something about it that's just, I don't know, therapeutic or fun about it, but I just really love it. You know, fairly quick. Labia would only take you about 20 minutes typically. A full, I shouldn't get my hair in that area. A full face would be 45 minutes to an hour. Lower face, 20 to 30 minutes. This area here on me, I'll be done in 10 to 15 minutes. Does anybody want to unmute themselves and ask a question? No worries about the chest area and heart, neck treatments, and thyroid. Oh, so no. Chest, no, because we're not working in any type of depth where you would need to be worried about anything here. we're only going, just skin deep. The thyroid, yes. So that is the only area of the body that you need to avoid. That's it, just your thyroid. So with the neck, what I like to do is I pull this tissue over, I grab it, pull it over, treat that area really quick, release it, and then treat everywhere else. But there's no other area that you need to avoid on the body except for just precaution, the thyroid. All right, let me look at my chat here. Okay. Oh, now I can see it. I think I just figured something out, you guys. Before, I mean, if you would have seen what I had to do before to look at the chat, it was a nightmare. Now it's just up and on my screen. So you guys don't have to unmute yourselves if you don't want, just keep writing into the chat because now I can see it. All right, so now let me scroll back and see. How often do you treat? Every 4 weeks? Does it help with fat loss? 50%, 10% overlap. It probably looks like I'm doing 50% because the tip is a little bit deceiving where there's plastic, there's the vacuum here, there's the smart heat. None of that's treating the skin. Even the smart heat is just aiding and helping treat the skin. The only thing that's treating the skin are the pins, the tiny electrodes there, the round electrodes. So it probably looks like I'm doing a 50% overlap, but it's just not even a 10, it's just, they're just right next to one another. No worries about the chest area and heart, neck treatments, and thyroid. Okay, I think I covered all the questions so far. Okay, I'll keep moving along. So you can see now how, trying to keep my shirt. I wore this because it's easy, it's movable here, but I gotta kind of keep that closed a little bit. But you can see how red I am getting now. And that's just 3 joules, and you saw how comfortable I was. So using a lot of pressure, that vacuum is aiding in comfort, that cooling plate is aiding in comfort. So it truly is, even when I'm doing ablation with numbing cream, it's completely something that they can sit through for sure. And when you have acne scars, even if this thing hurt, you would sit through it, but it is comfortable comparative to other things that are out there on the market for sure. All right, I'm actually gonna start on this side and just work my way down just to meet where I just was. I don't want to go right over breast tissue though. That's one thing that I'm really trying to avoid here. And that's, again, I said the only thing that you can't pulse over is the thyroid. I lied. Breast tissue too. So the thyroid, that is just a precaution. Breast tissue, it's just a precaution. So those are the areas that you would want to avoid. So I'm just really on that like bony part of the tissue on the décolleté. But that's how easy it is. Hit the trigger, let it do its thing. You can hear the vacuum activate. You guys probably can't because it's a webinar, but you can hear the vacuum activate. You know that it's on, it's working. Also, this will let you know once it chirps at you, you just move to the next spot. It's very easy technology to use. And again, I think therapeutic. Do you prefer BLT or 23/7 topical for ablative? I love 23/7. But you know what? Here's the big thing. Even if it's BLT, there are some BLTs out there on the market, and for those of you that may not know, it's benzocaine, lidocaine, and tetracaine. And you can get a 23/7 of BLT where it's 20%, 3%, 7%. The big thing is if you go to a compound pharmacy, you should be really good because it's also the consistency of the actual product. So there are BLTs out there that have really good percentages, but there's something about the actual product itself, the numbing cream itself, that doesn't penetrate and numb well. But when you're going to an actual compound pharmacy and they're compounding it for you in a little jar, prescription, then your numbing cream should be really good and work really well. A really good trick for ablative numbing is if you have microdermabrasion and if you have ours, the Pristine, then use that before you put the numbing cream on. So do a quick microdermabrasion, remove the dead skin cells, then put the numbing cream on the skin. They will numb up quickly and they will numb up well. I leave it on for 20, sometimes 30 minutes, and then move into the treatment. I hope that helped. Prilocaine too, I really love when they put that into numbing creams. Any other questions? I was hoping someone would unmute themselves so I could chat with somebody out there. I feel all alone. No one? Okay, so now I'm almost done here. I'm just, oh, did someone unmute themselves?
I'll chat.
Who is this?
This is Peggy.
Hi, Peggy.
So I'm confused here. So, all right. So this past year, I've had the V20 for a couple of years.
Okay.
Upgraded this past year to the V30. And I got the Nd:YAG laser attachment, which I'm still new at.
Mm-hmm.
So what it looks like you have here is a whole new attachment? Or is
Yes.
it clips onto my existing ST?
Yes, your existing V30.
Yeah. So it's a whole new thing I plug into the front of the unit.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know. So
never saw that before.
Yeah, well, it just came out. We just launched it about 3 months ago. So now
I'm surprised my sales rep's not knocking on my door.
I know, right? Where do you live?
I'll take Jacksonville. I know you guys have an office in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh yes, that's where our warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, our warehouse.
It's super convenient. Yeah, I just bought.
Oh, that's amazing.
I just bought the spot for the IPL.
Oh, the small spot size, yes.
Yeah, that thing has been out of stock forever, so I finally got one.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm excited for you. I'm not kidding you. This you have to have this handpiece. It's
really cool. Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I mean, there isn't a single person I've ever spoke to that has had this handpiece that has said that they don't like it or that there's anything negative about it.
If I'm doing the IPL, okay, which is my workhorse, what is this? I kind of understand the whole layers and the safeties, but I do a lot of IPL on the neck and face and chest and all that. And I'm a dentist, so my window of scope of practice is from chest up. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, what would this handpiece do for me that I'm not already doing with everything I've got? Because I've got the Nd:YAG.
You have it all. Okay, so
everything. So
yeah. Okay, so where this handpiece would fit in with you having already all of those things is I get these emails all the time where they'll send me a photo of scars or stretch marks or acne scarring on the face. And this is my first example of scarring. And saying, they've done 8 treatments with the ST or they've done 8 treatments with ST and IPL, but, the patient isn't completely happy. There's more to go. So with that, there's limitations to what the not a ton of limitations, because the IPL can treat for hair removal, for pigment, for vascular, for acne, for skin rejuvenation, but scars are the hardest thing to treat by far because it's dead tissue. So this is what you need to truly be able to sit down at a consultation and say, yes, we can improve your scars by 80% at least. So it's any type of scarring patient. it's also that type of patient that needs a lot of lifting, a ton of lifting. Their texture isn't great. It's that example of the female or male who's in their 60s or 70s who think there's nothing that can be done for me other than surgery.
That's my target. That's my primary.
Well, yeah, you live in Florida.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a
60s,
lot
70s.
of just damage to skin.
Yes.
This when I say it can take 10 years off of a face after 4 to 6 treatments, it can take 10 years off of a face in 4 to 6 treatments.
Now, do they have to stay out of the sun as intensely as the IPL?
Yeah.
My biggest challenge.
Because you're in Florida.
I'm trusting you to stay out of the sun. You play tennis, so I do a lot of tennis players.
And I play tennis, so
right.
that's what I'm doing.
They don't listen.
I know. So what I'll do, because I still, you know, I had acne scarring, so I still do maintenance on myself. One treatment every like 6 months to maintain the scars. And I still don't stop playing tennis though. So I will use a, what's the word? Zinc oxide sunscreen. Yes. So my face is just, I look crazy. I look like I have a white mask on.
Face. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I wear, and I look crazy because I wear a huge floppy hat to play tennis. I get made fun of, but I don't care. And you know, because I still need my treatments, but I'm really protected.
Yeah.
So, you know, try to, if they play tennis on a Sunday, try to do their treatment on a Monday so they have that whole week. And if they need to go and play that Sunday, then you're covering your,
you're 3 days a week, hardcore ladies.
Yeah, no, that's
it's
how
tough.
I do. But I play
that's my biggest challenge, to get them to,
really good sunscreen and hats.
Yeah. And before they leave my office, I lather them up with like a zinc oxide sunscreen. Big time. Nobody leaves my office without having a layer of white.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. It's so smart.
So, and I know, like my earlier question, my biggest challenge right now is pricing. And I know you guys don't really have, but how would I go about and other than like going to different spas around town and finding what they're charging for this, that, and anything? But how do I know what to charge for certain things? Because I feel like I'm
okay. So I have two answers. One, I did a webinar on that. So I did a webinar that's all practice development. So it covers how to do perfect before and after photos, how to market, how to chart, how to like anything practice development related, and how to do pricing. So do this. Email clinical. So it's clinicalusa@vioramed.com. And tomorrow I'll see your email and I will send you a link to that webinar. Watch it, then let's schedule a Zoom. And then we can—
I'd love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because right now I'm all over the board.
Yeah, and I know, and that's, you know, one of the biggest challenges when you first purchase a system, a lot of people, when they're considering purchasing, they will think that learning the system is the hardest part, and it's not. You know, you get it down fairly quickly. It's the practice development side of things that a lot of people are like, well, yeah.
I'm sitting on this beautiful technology and I'm not getting it out there to the world.
Yes. So I think that's what Viora really is good at, is that we'll always be here for you for those things. If you want to hold an event, we'll walk you through it. Pricing, I'll walk you through it. So watch the webinar, write down your questions. We can schedule a Zoom, then we'll go through pricing.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, your customer service has been fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Been great. It helps at the right here in Jacksonville too. So.
Oh, for sure.
It's great. We've done Zoom things. I had like, it's great. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm super excited for you. I really hope that you're able to get this handpiece. You will not be upset one bit with it.
So is it on the website yet to order, or?
Yeah. Well, email info@vioramed.com.
Yeah.
And then probably the VP of sales will give you a call to work out, something for you. And just let them know when you email that you were on the webinar.
Yeah. Okay. They get a break for that?
I'm not sure. Mention it. I don't know though.
I just dropped a big chunk of change in that NDAG thing.
Yeah, we'll talk to them for sure.
Yeah. No, my sales rep, Cliff Prizzy is awesome. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah, or just email him.
Yeah.
Yeah, or call him.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I really got enjoyed your
Oh, good. Thank you. I hope
very
to meet
helpful.
you one day.
Yeah, very. You're in California.
Las Vegas.
Oh, in Vegas. Ooh, going out there.
Woo!
I'm gonna be there in October. So
Nice talking to you.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so I just wanted to show you guys, I'm not too red, but I'm trying not to flash you. I'm not too red, but you can definitely see where it has been treated. The sensation that I have right now is a mild lingering heat. Like I can definitely feel like something's been done there, but it's nothing that is horrible. For your patients that are getting ablation though, they're going to need ice after, so you can send them home with like ice packs, and they're hot, fairly hot for about 30 minutes, but with the ice packs they're typically fine. Plus they probably had numbing cream on, so the numbing cream helps with not feeling like too much heat, but they'll definitely want to ice. For me, I didn't do ablation. I'm red. I can feel that something happened, but probably won't need ice for comfort. We put something like an Aquaphor, an emollient on the skin after to protect it, because it's creating openings to the tissue. So we kind of like a microneedling would create openings. We are doing that with the VFR. So we want to protect it with an emollient. So I like Elta MD. Intensive hydration. It's the same consistency as Aquaphor, so I'll put that on my chest after. And that's about it. It's fairly simple. They just keep that on while they're healing. They can put makeup on over it. They just blot their face and then put makeup on. Sunscreen, be careful in the sun. And that's really it. Pretty simple. Any other questions? I was just looking for my phone to see what time it was. I don't know. Aquaphor and no sun for how long? So the Aquaphor, they will keep the Aquaphor on or something like it while they're healing. So about 5 to 7 days on the face. They don't have to wear it every day though. So if they're acne prone, then they can't wear it all the time. So if they're acne prone, I have them for sure wear it for the first 24 hours. That's the most important. And then after that, I just have them sleep with it. And other people that are not acne prone, I love for them to just keep it on always. For about 5 to 7 days. Again, they can put makeup over it. They just blot their skin and then put makeup on. For the body, it's longer healing, so it's about 3 weeks. So I just tell them, put it on like you would lotion. So that's what I'll do for that small area that I just treated for my lines, is I'll just kind of put it on like lotion in the morning, put it on like lotion at night. And then sunscreen for a month after, but they're coming in every 4 weeks typically. So they'll just need to always keep sunscreen on. But that should just be something that people do every day anyways. So you can talk to them about that in a consultation, that they should be wearing sunscreen every day. So it's nothing different. But yeah, for at least 4 weeks after. Any other questions? No. All right, I guess we'll sign off. Sorry I didn't have a live model here today. I apologize. And in the area I had to treat, like I was thinking, well, I'll just do my hands. And then I'm like, oh, I don't need it on my hands yet. I just turned 40. Well, I probably do need it on my hands. I just turned 40. But I figured this was the easiest area to show from the lines here. So sorry that I didn't have a model. But I'm glad I was able to at least show you guys the handpiece and how it works and the technique and how easy it is. But yeah, all right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, if you do, you can always email info@vioramed.com. Or if you have clinical questions and you're already a Viora customer, you can always email clinicalusa@vioramed.com. If you are interested in purchasing and you're not sure who your sales rep is, then you can email info@vioramed.com. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you guys are welcome. Hi, Erin, Lindsay. Yes, of course. I really hope that you guys end up getting this handpiece. You will not be sorry, I promise you. Enjoy your tennis. Thank you. Hopefully I play well. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. And we will see you soon on the next webinar. All right, bye guys.